Hey guys, it's Theodore here from Arybbros, and today I'm going to talk about virtual and augmented reality, as well as discuss a little bit about the leaks of Apple's new product, which has been popping a lot over the internet in the past few days. So, virtual reality, what is it? Well, obviously, I took the definition from dictionary.com. Virtual reality, or VR, is a realistic and immersive simulation of a three-dimensional environment created using interactive software and hardware, and experienced or controlled by movement of the body. When we think of virtual reality, we immediately think of something like this. But virtual reality is present in other forms. For example, first-person shooter video games like PUBG, Fortnite, or Free Fire. By the way, if you haven't checked out my Free Fire video, be sure to do that. Anyway, I was saying even in those games, you're present and you can control what happens around you. So that is virtual reality in a sense. But today, we're not discussing what is VR and what is not. So I'm going to be talking most about this for the most part. Let's do a timeline to start off. In 1957, cinematographer Morton Heilig developed the world's first virtual reality device called Sensorama. It showed stereoscopic 3D film combined with audio vibrations, moving air, and even aromas. Now this was not head mounted, so you couldn't really move with it on, so you couldn't interact with it much, but it was still mind-blowing at that time. In 1960, he created what he called the Telesphere Mask, which is considered as the first head-mounted display, or HMD for short. It was basically the same as the first one, but smaller and only showed video, no audio. Soon after, in 1961, a company called Philco developed the first motion tracking head-mounted display, called HeadSight. The key feature of this device was the motion tracking, which was linked with a few cameras so users could now move their head to trigger an adjustment in the video they were looking at. In 1965, an American computer scientist named Ivan Sutherland came up with the idea of the absolute display, which he quoted as, "a room within which the computer can control the existence of matter. A chair displayed in such a room would be good enough to sit in. Handcuffs displayed in such a room would be confining, and a bullet displayed in such a room would be fatal. With appropriate programming, such a display could literally be the wonderland into which Alice walked." Sounds pretty dangerous, but also very exciting for us tech enthusiasts. This led to the development of his own VR headset, which he created with his student Bob Spruill in 1968. Because it was attached to the ceiling of a room and it was very delicate, it was called the Sword of Damocles, based on the story of Damocles in the 6th century. This headset is known as the first augmented reality headset. Okay, what is augmented reality and how is it different from VR? Well, to put it simply, virtual reality brings you into another world, while augmented reality keeps you in the same world, but you see other things as part of the real world thanks to technology and computers. Moving on, in 1977, an MIT team led by Andrew Lipman, a research scientist, came up with the Aspen Movie Map, which allowed viewers to take a tour of a municipality in Colorado. The making of this was through the use of a car and a gyroscopically stabilized camera, which took photos at every 10 feet. This not only paved the way for better cameras for recording things in motion, but also led to things like Google Street View. In the 1980s, the first 3D video games were brought into the mass market by the gaming console Atari 2600. This game is called Battlezone and could use 3D vector graphics to allow you to shoot at moving tanks, and the radar above shows where the tanks are. In the 90s, virtual reality was brought into gaming consoles with head-mounted displays and those comfortable chairs that everyone loves to sit on. In 1993, the Sega VR headset was introduced but never got released because of safety concerns to eyesight. In 1995, Nintendo released their Virtual Boy. Many people don't know about it because it was quite a failure on Nintendo's part. They spent 4 years designing it and built a whole factory exclusive to making these, only to rush the release of the unfinished product to focus on another product that they had to release the next year. It had games that had features coded into them that weren't enabled on the console, like multiplayer. It got bashed by tech enthusiasts because of its one-color display, lack of portability, weight, low-quality games, and high price. Still, it had pretty good stereoscopic sound and display, which was the whole point of it. Anyway, with some more virtual failures, it seemed as if the format had suffered its final defeat. However, as the tech finally caught up with the supporting ideas, the next key development came in the form of the Oculus Rift in 2012. It had millions of colors like smartphones these days, contrary to the Virtual Boy, which had a 3-shade one color or monochrome display. The Virtual Boy had speakers, while the Rift had built-in headphones, but both of them had stereoscopic audio and video, as well as adjustments for size. An interesting fact is that the Rift uses lenses that are used in lighthouses. The Virtual Boy had about 86,000 pixels, while the Rift has over 2.5 million pixels. The Rift has a motion tracking refresh rate of 1000, which means that it checks for head movements 1000 times per second, and it was portable unlike the Virtual Boy. Now I know I shouldn't be comparing two products that differ by about 20 years of technological advancements, but still, the Rift was a big improvement over virtual head-mounted displays of the past. In 2014, Facebook bought the Oculus VR company for $2 billion, and Sony PlayStation released their Project Morpheus for PlayStation 4. In the same year, Google launched Google Cardboard, which I think is really amazing. It costs only $10, and as the name suggests, it was made of cardboard. Apart from cardboard, it had two lenses, a magnet, and an NFC coil attached to it. To make it work, you would just put your phone into it, and the NFC coil would lead you to install an app that Google made to go along with it. It used the phone's accelerometer to record head movements, and the phone's magnetometer to use as a switch with a magnet. Since practically everybody had the touchscreen smartphones by that time, it was easily affordable, and you could also make it by yourself if you had the lenses, a magnet, and a cardboard. Also in 2014 came the Google Glass, which comes very close to what we're going to talk about soon. Project Glass was the first time a company tried putting virtual stuff into glasses. It had a 640p standard definition display, a touchpad, and used bone conduction to get the sound to your brain. Bone conduction is the conduction of sound to the inner ear primarily through the bones or the skull, allowing the hearer to perceive audio content without blocking the ear canal. Google Glass had 6 main features. It could take a photo with its built-in camera in 2 ways. The first was if you said, "Okay Glass, take a photo," or the other is to just press the shutter button. The second thing it could do was to record a video. Same 2 methods, but you would have to hold the shutter button for 2 seconds to take a 10-second video. Third, send a message. To do this, you would say, "Okay Glass, send a message to Alvin. Good morning, Alvin." The fourth thing was to call someone. You would say, "Okay Glass, call Alvin." The fifth thing that Google Glass could do was to Google something, as it was from Google. The sixth, and what is I think is the most important thing that Google Glass could do, was navigation. It was amazing. You could have Google Maps open like we have on our phones now, with the arrow showing you where you are as you move. Also, it had a trackpad for gestures and didn't come with the lenses installed, so you could get your own prescription on them if you needed to. All the data was processed by your smartphone, which you would have to connect via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. The main drawbacks of this were concerns of privacy because you never know when someone might take a photo of you if they have a camera with them all the time. Also, the product was asymmetric and bulky and heavy on one side. It was also very expensive at $1,500, so Google Glass was quickly discontinued. Finally, this leads us to the topic at hand today, Apple. Apple is making augmented reality glasses. And what is it called? Oh, Apple Glass. I wonder why that sounds familiar. Anyway, here's a compilation of everything I have found on the internet about it. It is planned to be announced in October this year and released in late 2021 or early 2022, so there's still a lot of time. It's going to come with its own wireless charging stand. It's supposed to look like normal glasses with people on the outside not being able to see what the person wearing the glasses sees. In fact, they're not bulky and heavy and they're symmetric unlike Google Glass. This also adds to why you would want to buy them. Because they couldn't make it bulky, Apple had made it compatible with iPhones. So all of the data is processed on your iPhone like Google Glass. The lenses have inbuilt displays so you don't have to look at a certain place like with the Google Glass. It doesn't have audio output because Apple is probably hoping you will use them with AirPods. The Apple Glass doesn't have cameras unlike Google Glass, so there aren't any privacy concerns. And most surprising thing about the Apple Glass is its price of $500. I really do wonder why an Apple product is so cheap. Basically, Apple Glass has fixed most of the problems with Google Glass. I didn't really find out much more about the glass's functionality, but one of the best pieces of tech in it is a LiDAR sensor. A LiDAR sensor is basically a sonar-like thing, but uses light instead of sound. It sends out light and measures the time it takes to reflect and come back to determine the distance of an object, and uses a lot of these light rays to help develop a 3D mapping of the environment that it's in. This has also been put in the 2020 iPad Pro and the upcoming iPhone 12. So that's it for this video, guys. If you liked this video, hit the thumbs up below, and if you liked it a lot, subscribe and be sure to hit the notification bell. Thank you for watching.